Honorable members, we have the CS for tourism, wildlife and heritage, and I want to give you direction as follows. Going through the questions, question number 076 of 23 by Gideon Mulyungi MP, question by 1 Taitumu Munaiba MP for Igembe, number 119 of 2023. If you follow your order paper. Question number 228 of 2023 by Honorable Kenneth Kazungu of Ganze. Question number 322 of 2023 by Honorable Abdi Haro, Mandera South. Question number 323 of 23 by Honorable Pauline Lenguris, Samburu County. Question number 324 of 23 by Honorable Faith Gitau, Nyandarua County. And question number 325 of Honorable Rael Kasiwai, West Pokot County, are all questions about wildlife-human conflicts. So, Minister, if you are prepared to answer them properly, it is more policy than facts, because they relate to human-wildlife conflicts and what your ministry and the government is doing to mitigate these conflicts, compensate the aggrieved families and individuals, and prevent future conflicts of the same type. So, honorable members, I'll allow those members to flag your questions in a row and invite the minister to answer them as I have listed them. In the interest of time, and more importantly, the minister to elucidate what policy she has in preventing human-wildlife conflicts, in compensating the aggrieved families and individuals, and in preventing such conflicts. Minister, I hope we are together. Now we'll start by calling out Honorable Gideon Mulyungi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask question number 076 of 2023.
Thank you.
Could the CS, number 1, state the steps the ministry is taking to resolve cases of human-wildlife conflict in the country? Number 2, outline the steps the ministry is taking to resolve cases of human-wildlife conflict in Mwingi Central constituency, particularly those resulting from attacks by elephants that have continued to endanger lives of residents and cause destruction of crops and other properties in Ukasi, Musovo, Kwanza, Miuni, and Sosoma areas. Number 3, clarify whether the ministry has carried out audits and investigations on the magnitude of losses incurred by the residents of the constituency as a result of destruction caused by the elephants since 2017, and if not, when does the ministry intend to undertake the investigations into the menace? Number 4, indicate when the ministry will compensate the victims of human-wildlife conflicts in Mwingi Central constituency, particularly in Ukasi, Musovo, Kwanza, Miuni, Sosoma, and the Gooni areas. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Minister, I hope we are at the same level of thinking. If your flow of thought was to answer one by one, I don't want to disorganize you. But if you are able to compose your answers all these questions I've mentioned have just one streak: human-wildlife conflict. So are you comfortable with answering all of them together, or you want to deal with one by one? You're more comfortable with one by one. Then take the shortest time possible on each. We have already passed our time. Okay, Minister, go ahead and answer. And all these questions being the same, I will limit joyriders.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members. I'll go straight to responding to question number 1, Roman 1. The following are the measures put in place by the Ministry of Tourism, Wildlife, Heritage through Kenya Wildlife Services to minimize human-wildlife conflict in the country. We have short-term measures that run through problem animal control. The Ministry of Tourism through Kenya Wildlife Service has staff in all the protected areas and over 156 stations and substations outside parks and reserves. Staff in these areas are responsible for coordinating management of wildlife coexistence and outside the designated parks and reserves. Considering that the country is very expansive, areas that are out of reach by the established stations and outposts are served by what we call mobile problem animal control teams deployed to deal with upsurge in conflict in specific areas. Number 2, we are collaborating with stakeholders to control in problem animal control operations such as wildlife drives to ensure limit wildlife encroachment into human settlement areas is managed. Number 3, we are carrying out what we call wildlife drive operations within the affected areas. And number 4, we are installing what you're calling wildlife barriers. These include fences and also solar-powered fences and lighting. Number 4, we are carrying out education and awareness creation. And so we're doing this continuously with the public and communities, assisted also by the Minister of Interior, working together with the chiefs and the assistant chiefs and the village elders. Number 5, we have established, we are in the process of establishing community conservancies. KWS has collaborated with conservation partners in the establishment of 215 conservancies in the country. These conservancies have a establishment that also assist us in managing wildlife outside the designated protected areas. Some of the partners also collaborate with us in driving out the animals from the people spaces. Number 6, we are providing water as a mitigation measure in the parks and in the reserves. Number 7, we have the problematic wildlife capture and translocation. Kenya Wildlife has a fully fledged veterinary and capture unit that provides veterinary interventions for wildlife in distress, as well as aid in the management of problematic animal species through capture and translocation, among other strategies. We also use of technology, the ministry and its sagas, specifically KWS and Wildlife Research Training Institute, has embraced technology in the management of wildlife. The latest satellite-linked GPRS collars are fitted on identified animals to monitor movement and activities. And finally, we are also carrying out payment of compensation claims. The ministry has been paying out compensation, and during financial year 2022-2023, we have already received 958 million to pay compensation from affected communities and individuals. This year, we've also budgeted 1.1 billion that we will be compensating the families and the communities affected. We are also pursuing to pilot an insurance scheme that will see our claims paid in due time or real time without delays. But we are also coming up with long-term measures, specifically asking ourselves what are the root causes of this human-wildlife conflict, and therefore to address the problem of human-wildlife conflict, the ministry has formed a working group based on the four thematic areas identified as root causes of human-wildlife conflicts. And these are in the area of land registration and titling to correct the land use issues causing human-wildlife conflict. Number two, we are also carrying out the restoration and regeneration of degraded habitats to restore wildlife corridors and dispersal areas. Number three, we want to improve community livelihoods through benefit sharing and anchor wildlife sector economy. And finally, we're pursuing carbon and biodiversity credit and financing to support financing of conservation initiatives. Honorable Speaker, on question Roman number 2, I would love to respond as follows. The ministry through Kenya Wildlife is committed to significantly reducing the cases of human-wildlife conflicts in Mwingi Central constituency, and has been working together with other stakeholders to manage conflicts. So far, the following measures have been undertaken to minimize conflicts in this area. One, Kenya Wildlife Services as a problem management outpost at Mwingi that is fully equipped with well-trained staff to respond to conflicts within the area, covering Ukasi, Musovo, Kwanza, Miyuni, and Sosoma areas. The mobile team from Mwingi Station covering these villages has 6 staff and 1 land cruiser designated for problem animal management. And number 2, to beef up the team in the area, the Mwingi problem animal management team is currently deployed within the region to handle all the racing conflicts from Ukasi, Musovo, Kwanza, Miyumi, Sosoma, and other areas in that region. And number 3, in addition, KWS has activated other stations close to Mwingi and in environs that work together in the affected areas to control the human-wildlife conflict cases within this region. These are Garissa Station, Mutoma Station, Meru Station, and as well as staff at Kora National Park. Finally, in the last few months, the Service Rabbit Response Team, dubbed as Problem Animal Management Unit, was deployed and pinched tents in the region from December 2022 up to the end of January 2023, when the team was withdrawn after the elephant threats were managed. Fourthly, the frequent sightings of elephants in the area prompted KWS within the month of December 2022 to undertake what we call aerial rescue that resulted to identification of areas affected and the quarrying of elephants for monitoring. Also continuous awareness creation in collaboration with stakeholders. I personally visited the area of Musovo together with the member of parliament of this area and also Whiter area twice in this year in March and May. On the question Roman number 3, my response is like as follows, Honorable Speaker. The ministry has not undertaken a definite audit or investigation of the human-wildlife conflict, particularly those resulting from elephant damages. However, the ministry does a replica of the audit by recording various all instances and updates in its KWS database, and the data is kept by the ministry at KWS as CTREP, what we call situational reports. Honorable Speaker, just to finalize on that question, I would also want to inform you, Honorable Speaker, that I have a summary of human-wildlife conflicts in the entire county of Kitui from 2017 to 2023 as asked by the Honorable Member. And in total, we have 7 deaths and 103 human injury, 58 human threat, 155 crop destruction, predation of 155, and property damage of 2. On Roman 4, and the final question, Section 25 of Wildlife Conservation Management Act of 2013 and the miscellaneous amendment to the Wildlife Conservation Management 2013 of January 2019 provides for compensation for personal injury or death or damage of property. The ministry will pay victims of human-wildlife conflict from Mwingi Central, especially Ukasi, Musovo, Kwanza, Miuni, Sosoma, and Goone areas in Kitui County, alongside other areas in that county from July this year. And Your Excellency, we have allocated 52 million to be paid, and the payment started yesterday and today for this particular county. We'll have a small balance. We'll have a small balance of 69 million, which will be paid for the years running from 2017 to 2023, with the 1.1 billion allocated for this year. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the CS for that answer, and also thank her for visiting my area. She is very conversant with that area. But Mr. Speaker, sir, there are areas which I require further clarifications. Number one is she has talked about fencing, so that she separates the human settlements from the animals, from the wildlife. What are the timelines for that fencing, and is there a budget? That's number one. Number two, she has also spoken about they have compensated some people, and the compensation is also ongoing. Is it possible, Mr. Speaker, sir, for the CS to provide me with a list of those who have been paid, and those who will be paid, and those who will be remaining, so that we are in the loop of what is going on? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I will respond quickly. As per the fencing, we have allocated 50 million from the Tourism Promotion Fund last month, and this money had not been dispensed because we needed to sit down with the county government. As you are aware, we are in charge of the national parks. However, the county governments are in charge of the national reserves. And therefore, we had a sitting last 3 weeks with the deputy governor of the county, and we have agreed that this fencing should commence immediately. On the timelines, of course, we are waiting for the county government, and we've already finalized, so any time from now, we will be commencing the fencing in Kitui South and Mwingi North National Reserves. On the compensation list, I will be glad to furnish you with the compensation list that we are already progressing with paying, but also I'll be glad to also furnish you with the list of all the cases in Kitui County that we will be paying in the next 1 year. Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Kiborek. There you are.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mine is, I have two sets of questions to the CS.
One, you're a joyrider, you ask only one.
One, but it's a joint question. Thank you, thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have elephants which has been terrorizing our people inside of Kabuswa, Kiribot, from Ochongoi Forest. We have tried to erect fence with KWS, but in between they stop without finishing the fence. What plan do they have in finishing the fencing so that my people can go back to farming? Lastly, Mr. Speaker, with due respect, Lake Bogoria National Reserve, our people are evicted from the land for the National Reserve. Do they have any plan of compensating our people who are evicted? And Mr. Speaker, Kawanjiko should not laugh because the only wildlife he has is bedbugs and other small animals in his place, as we have 3 years problem of wildlife conflicts. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, the Minister. There are so many questions.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I will respond quickly and say that we are compiling a list of all the areas within the national parks and also within the corridors where the wildlife are encroaching into people's space so that we can finalize on the fencing. And so we have a priority list that will be settled in September. And so I will give a definite answer on this particular fence. On our conversation, Honorable Speaker, I would ask that you allow me time to go and evaluate and sit down and see where we are in terms of progressing in this agenda. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Member for Igembe North. Honorable members, I know all those hands are about conflict between humans, Goja, Igembe North, and wildlife. So, as the Minister continues answering the questions, 1 or 2 of you will be joyriding and asking, but we can't give all of you on one question. Yes, Karage, what is it? Hold on, member for Igembe North. Give the mic to Karake Mbuki.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to agree with you that most of all these questions are to do with the human-wildlife conflict. They are almost 10 in number. Although they are area specific, Mr. Speaker, I would really request that the Cabinet Secretary, we can be able to, all the questions can be asked at the same time, they can be consolidated, then the Cabinet Secretary can be able to respond to the same. At the same time, Mr. Speaker, the committee is coming up with an inquiry on matters to do with human-wildlife conflict, whereby we are going to engage all the members who have issues to do with human-wildlife conflict, so that we can now be able to have a joint session with the Cabinet Secretary, together with all the area members of Parliament who are from the affected areas. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Let's see how far we can go. Yes, Minister. Member for Igembe North, can you ask your question?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I arise to ask the question number 11 of 2023. Could the Cabinet Secretary provide the details on the measures being taken by the government to restrain the marauding elephants in Igembe North from attacking locals and destroying crops and property? State-owned residents who have incurred losses arising from the destruction of property and the crops caused by elephants between January and February 2023 will be compensated, particularly residents of Malaene, Ginyo, Ndunu Barikoi, Kuka, and the lower villages of Ndoleli and Amwadi ones in Mutuati sub-county, Igembe North constituency. 3. Could the Cabinet Secretary explain the long-term measures the government is taking to address the recurring menace of human-wildlife conflict in the Igembe North constituency?
Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I will just summarize because some of the strategies that we are taking, I have already alluded to in the first question. But my ministry has undertaken the following measures to ensure that the people of Igembe North are safe from elephants. One, sensitizing meetings have been carried in Malieni, Mutuati, Jinyo, and Kabachi. Two, we are also collaborating with stakeholders, as I have said before, and we are driving using both patrols and also helicopters. Number three, we have worked closely with the county government and the county administration in the area to ensure that within the months of January 2023 to date, KWS has responded to 182 instances of human-wildlife conflict in Igembe North. And finally, the ministry has upgraded the 6-kilometer of Meru Park fence along the west side bordering Mutuati sub-county to a double fence which elephants cannot easily cross, hence minimizing the interactions between people and wildlife. I have given all the cases, the 82 cases, and I will be glad to provide to the Member of Parliament. On question 2, the ministry will pay for the loss of lives and injuries caused by elephants, particularly from Malieni and Ginyo areas between January 2023 and February. As you've heard, in the conversation that is ongoing, that we have just released in this month of 958, we covering from 2014 to 2018, and therefore this particular compensation, we will be compensated with our allocation that is in our budget for financial year 2023-2024. On that agenda, I would love to say that Meru, from the 958, will be receiving 15 million, and a balance of 57 million to date will be cleared also within the 1.1 billion that is budgeted. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes. Honorable Toitumu, you are satisfied? Move to
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm not satisfied because the answers provided by the Cabinet Secretary with a lot of humility and respect, they are a bit shallow and superficial. Because if I look at the answers provided, the minister is saying that he has worked out with his officers to provide the sensitization meetings for the community and also to teach them on wildlife behaviors and advise them on appropriate mitigation measures. I would like to say that the people of Igembe are farmers. They are not wandens. What have they to do with wildlife behavior? If a rogue animal goes into their farm, destroys crops, if you teach them about the behavior of elephants, how will they benefit out of it? That's a question provided by the minister. Two, I've seen that they have been using shoppers and other things to drive away the animals. And she has provided a comprehensive list, and I want to thank her for that, of 182 families whereby their land was destroyed. She has not provided the amount. For example, already they have given the acreage, the type of crops that were grown, but out of the report, you cannot tell what amount they will be paid. Again, we have heard that Meru has been given 57 million, of which 56 million has already been allocated and a balance of 57 million. I'm not asking this question on behalf of Meru, but the residents of Igembe North, whose farms were destroyed. Could the Cabinet Secretary scale it down and tell me how much money will be given the residents of Igembe whose crops were destroyed? Two,
One at a time, member.
The county government of Meru, I've seen that the cabinet secretary has said that the ministry is working with the county government, particularly the administrators, the chiefs, and the assistant chiefs. These are not part of the county government, but under now in the Ministry of Interior and National Administration. How is the county government coming in here? So, Mr. Speaker, I believe that I should be provided with a lap.
Yes. Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. On awareness, Honorable Speaker, I would say that why we are teaching on wildlife behavior is because the agenda we are talking here is discussion, it's destruction of crops and more so of wildlife, of life. And therefore, it is very important for the community because they are coexisting, because of the proximity to the national park, for them to be aware when this wildlife break out, how do they need to behave so that they do not cause more deaths. On January, on the compensation, there is a process that is taken. Immediately there's destruction of either the farm crops or even death. There is a process that has to start at the county level with our county compensation management team. And therefore, the first step is to fill the compensation form, which is then taken to the compensation committee. And from there, it is upscaled to the ministry. And therefore, we are waiting for these particular claims for them to proceed to our office. On the allocation of the money I have just mentioned, for Igembe specific, in our calculation, we had picked on the counties as overall. And therefore, I will be willing to go into detail and get this information for Igembe so that you can be aware. I'll also be willing to give you the whole full report on the Meru County of all the cases from 2014 to 2022 that are being paid within this period of August 2023. Thank you, Your Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Wakili Mureo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. For me, I want to ask the Honorable Cabinet Secretary in charge of Wildlife and Tourism on whether, number one, she's aware whether the monkeys are part of the wildlife which for purposes of consideration in terms of human-wildlife conflict. Because in Gatanga constituency, monkeys, and we call them velvet monkeys, canadero, they are the cause of poverty and starvation, where those animals eat the food crops from maize to bananas, they eat the cash crops from coffee to avocados to macadamia, leaving the public in Gatanga constituency with devastation, starvation, and lack of income. What plans do you have as a ministry, number one, to eradicate those animals which are really destructive, and secondly, what plans does the ministry have for purposes of compensating those farmers who cannot be able to feed their children and they have been deprived of their incomes? Thank you very much.
Yes, Ruku.
Is a member of Gatanga in order, Mr. Speaker, to use a name which is a language which is unknown to this house. I don't know that language, whether it's a botanical name of the monkeys is describing. Is he in order to use unknown language in this house? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Wakili.
Mr. Speaker, this House allows the use of even Latin words to describe the specific animal, or to make sure that they can be able to specify the animal. I use the word there because that's the word which this House will be able to understand that those animals are the ones who are causing devastation in Gatanga constituency. Therefore, the word was purely meant to make sure that my honorable members can be able to know exactly which animal is that, because in the family of monkeys, there are so many. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Ngang Alice. Minister, you'll answer after that. Give the mic.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Mine is also to add, the question is to add on what Honorable Moreu has talked about the monkeys. Because of Oldonyo Sabuk National Park, the monkeys, the women cannot even go to farm. They are too big for women. They even threaten them. When they carry their firewood on the back, they jump on their firewood because they want to intimidate the women. We are asking the minister, what do we do about it, the Oldonyo Sabuk National Park? Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Waziri.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. On monkeys, and they are called ferret, he did. That's a language that to separate a number of them. I would love to say that I'm aware of the menace that the monkeys are causing, and one of the strategies that we have is to relocate. And we are working on a strategy currently because we have Nairobi National Park that has two ecosystems of environment, the forest and the savanna. We are rethinking of relocating this, not particularly to Nairobi, but that is one of the pointers of the parks that we might relocate. And number three, whether they will be compensated according to the Wildlife Conservation Management Act and the particular schedule on compensation. These particular monkeys are not in the schedule for compensation, and therefore it is one of the roles of this house. If you will find it worthy to review, we will be willing to compensate. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Minister, are you sure you are going to relocate monkeys from Katanga to Nairobi? What mechanism are you going to employ?
Honorable Speaker, one of the mandates is to relocate problematic wildlife species from whichever corner of the country. And therefore, it is the duty of my ministry and KWS to rethink and think widely as we work with our donors and also partners to see where to relocate them. That is a discussion that we have already started, and we are working on a strategy.
Yes, member for Tagoret South.
Mr. Speaker, now we are a bit concerned as members of parliament representing Nairobi. First, these animals are being described as problematic. Then they are being offloaded to Nairobi city, a city that is already suffering from problems of neighboring parks. The parks that we have already are not very well fenced. Mr. Speaker, you know of situations where lions have been straying into South Sea Estate. Lions have been straying onto Mombasa Road. Already dealing with the lions is an issue. Now the Veros coming from Gatanga and being relocated to Nairobi is now complexing the matter even worse. I am yet to understand how these Veros will be dealt with by being transferred to Nairobi. Nairobi is not ready to receive problematic Veros.
Yes, Alicia. Minister. Alicia Odhiambo.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Just an advisory. We had the issue of monkeys in game because we have our forest cover
is very high, about 85%. My advice to my constituents, and that to recruit one individual, just paint it red, all the monkeys will run away. You paint one monkey red, the other monkeys will think that's a shaitan, and they run away. They go to the town where there is no forest. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Yes, Alice Nganga, what is the problem?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I thought the minister would tell us that they are going to add more wardeners to take care of those monkeys, rather than saying we are going to relocate the monkeys to Nairobi, because monkeys are all over. By the time you are saying we are relocating them, and I don't know how we are going to relocate them, because they jump from one tree to the other. So it will be very hard and weird to relocate them to Nairobi, but they can add more wardeners who can help the monkeys from now invading where farmers are, or where there is human, where humans live. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Elachi, Minister, you are inviting a lot of...
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also want to echo that one, even as we speak of relocating monkeys, don't forget they are already on the houses of people within Nairobi, within Lavington, within Karen, all over. So the best we can be saying is, how do we create awareness to the people, to the neighborhoods that live with these monkeys, be able to understand where there is any sickness, be able to understand how to live with the children around there, and if anything happens, will the ministry be there to support those neighborhoods, or will we end up again finding ourselves with challenges? So I think the most important thing is, how do you create awareness to live with humans and animals together? Minister, because we've also encroached in their space.
Minister, you can see Nairobi people don't want you to bring monkeys to Nairobi.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Allow me to start by saying all wildlife in Kenya is an inheritance of the people of Kenya, and the government of Kenya manages on behalf of the people. With that, I would love to say also, the KWS is trained in this agenda, and that's why they spend a lot of years in Manyani in terms of darting of these animals. They use different techniques. But also allow me to say that it is true that the people of Nairobi do not want monkeys around. However, we are not saying, and in my statement I said, we are only trying to see where we can relocate these. But there are so many underlying things that we check. One of it being, when we call them problematic animals, it is not because they are problematic in the space of the farms and the maize and everything else. But when they come to an ecosystem that we will have done survey with Wildlife Research Training Institute, which the government of Kenya pays a lot of money, for that they can do research to know, because, Honorable Speaker, a time is coming when we have a lot of, probably not monkeys, but even elephants. So we need to come up with a strategy, and this is exactly what we are doing to make sure that the numbers are balanced in terms of the ecosystem carrying capacity. But I hear, and I will be also pursuing public participation so that I don't go against the will of the people of Kenya. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Mwingi.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I like the debate about monkeys, and they are also equally a menace in Kisii, in Gusii region, which is a tea growing area. But I want to add to the minister's menu the menace of squirrels. Squirrels, the botanical name of squirrels is Ebirongo, and the botanical name. And even the English people in that region, Gusii, there is a region actually which has been called Birongo in Kisii County, to forewarn the Gusii farmers that these Ebirongo are a menace. And I'm asking the minister, is these squirrels part of the wildlife? And if so, because they have made our farmers stop growing potatoes, they are destroying maize. Are they among the animals that are supposed to be under wildlife? And therefore, I have not seen Gusii region included in the list of compensation, and therefore, is this a clear discrimination? When are we going to see Gusii people being compensated for the destruction by these squirrels? Otherwise, again, we will be protesting, saying the ministry is discriminating against us. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. In the third schedule, squirrels are not in the third schedule for compensation, and therefore it will not be possible for compensation unless this House refuse with the need to see it worthy to be in the schedule. However, it is the duty of my ministry to ensure that there is a good coexistence between the wildlife and the people. And therefore, we are coming up with what we are calling the wildlife economy, where we are pursuing matters of looking at some of the wildlife that are not in these schedules and they are causing menace, to see how we can come up with strategies that we can develop wildlife economy from them, and probably extending to tourism, attraction bit of it. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
We'll go to Minister. Will jump question 218 and 226. There's a special request from Honorable Martin Owino. He has something to attend to. So you can answer question 227 of 2023. Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your indulgence. CS, I rise to ask question number 227. Can the CS state the amount of money that the ministry allocated to the Kenya Wildlife Service towards the maintenance of Kadio, Kodumba, Mirogi Road? Question number 2, can the CS provide information related to the tender and the eventual contractor who was awarded the tender to maintain the said road? Number 3, very important, can the CS explain why contractor was fully paid despite carrying out poor maintenance work on the same road?
Minister. Thank
you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. On my response, the budget allocated for maintenance of this particular road was 37,783,637.65. The road is being maintained under the 1% road maintenance levy fund, and savings accrued after the procurement of the roads works under 2021-2022 financial year. I have also attached a copy of approved work plan for 2021-2022 and the budget for the particular road. On question number 2, the tender for maintenance of this road was procured under competitive national open national tender, and the tender was advertised on 24th May 2021, and after evaluation of the same submitted bids, Miss Hedge Limited emerged successful and was awarded the tender on 27th July 2022. KWS entered into the contract with the bidder at a sum of 27,468,790 shillings and 20 cents against the budgeted amount of 37,783,637 shillings and 67 cents. The contractor agreement was signed on 7th September 2022 with the works commencing on 23rd September 2022. A copy is also attached. On the final question, the contractor has not been fully paid. Kenya shillings 16,499,059 shillings and 20 cents has been paid for satisfactory works done, inspected and also accepted. The contract has an outstanding amount of 10,969,731 shillings. For the pending works, the contractor is yet to finish. I have also attached Annex 3 showing the payment voucher and also the certificate number 1 of 2022. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
No, Speaker. The reason why I asked this, Speaker, which I need clarity from the CS, is that our fiduciary responsibility is to make sure the value of monies is done and also wastages are prevented. Mr. Speaker, this is a 19 kilometers road. It's a security road for Ruma National Park. And immediately the contractor finished the work, the Constituency Roads Committee, which is my committee, went around and found 5 culverts, slight grading done, and spot maraming, which is dirt, muddy. And Mr. Speaker, we had to redo this again with Kera money. So what I want the CS to clarify, which did not come through answers, number 1, what was the scope of work done? Because I've gone through the annexes, I could not see anything on certificate of payment. Number 2, you are talking about the remaining work done on the allocation done on 21-22 fiscal year. What type of work is that to be paid again 10 million on top of 16 million? The last one, I asked Kera, does not know anything and have nothing to do with this road and the work which was done. My constituency roads committee is not involved in this. Who is it that inspected, and where is the inspection report that influenced the certificate of payment and the payment out? So those are missing completely in this, and I think there is a lot of wastages, and unless the CS comes clear with how this money is paid and where is this money which is still remaining outstanding to be paid to the contract. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. On preventing wastages, we will be, as you see, this particular tender was given sometime back 2021 to 2022. And therefore, I'll be carrying out an inspection so that I can provide this particular document that the honorable member is asking, especially the scope of work that is missing, and also the inspection report. But as I have said, in terms of the retention money, we still have 10 million that was not paid. So I will be providing this House, Honorable Speaker, with extra information that has been requested on the floor of the House. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. That question is very simple. We'll leave it there. Next, we'll go to 218. Richard Klel, Mwingi Central.
Thank you so much.
Hold Richard Makalimul, what is it?
Honorable Speaker. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. What I wanted to find out, you know, we have very many roads in the national parks and the national reserves. Does the ministry have internal capacity, or do they rely on the public works and roads for purposes of supervision and awarding the roads?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Yes, the ministry has internal capacities. We have engineers and we have internal capacity. Thank you.
Richard Klel. Yes, member for Igembe North. Didn't we finish with your question?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. answers provided to this House, Honorable Speaker, should be well thought out answers and comprehensive.
Of course.
One of the answers that I'm seeking your indulgence was that KWS has facilitated 182 claims from Igembe North and is submitted to the Tharaka-Nithi Community Wildlife Conservation and compensation for payment consideration within month of January and February. My question is, why was the compensation or maybe consideration taken to the Tharaka-Nithi when Igembe North is an independent entity?
Is that so, Minister?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. My apologies. It was Meru. Actually, I think it was typing error. Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead and ask a question, Richard Kilel. Just hold on, Kilel again. Dr. Nyekal, what is it?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question to the Honorable Minister is, are all constituencies with parks entitled to funds for road maintenance? Mr. Speaker, Seme has an island, Dere Island, which is a designated park with a road that leads there and is managed by KWS. I've never seen in the last 10 years any work done on that road. So has any money been allocated to Seme in the last 10 years? And if so, how was it managed?
Have you allocated any money?
Thank
to
you,
Seme?
Honorable Speaker. We've not allocated any money to Seme in the last 10 years. Thank you.
Go ahead, Kilel.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this time to ask the CS the following 3 questions. Number 1, could the Cabinet Secretary provide the total amount of money received by the Tourism Promotion Fund as the proceeds realized under Section 3 of the Air Service Charge Act, Cap 475? Number 2, could the Cabinet Secretary provide a comprehensive list of all the beneficiaries of the fund from the Tourism Promotion Fund, as well as the proportion of funds allocated to each beneficiary since its inception? Number 3, could the Cabinet Secretary explain the manner in which the funds are managed by the board, including its evaluation?
Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. On this particular fund, $33,932,506, equivalent to $4,411,225,078.05, was the collection from the International Departure Task. Also, $1,856,170,140 shillings and 61 cents was the collection from the domestic departure. And therefore, in total, 6,267,395,920 shillings and 66 cents was the total collection. On question number 2, Honorable Mr. Speaker, sir, the list of the beneficiaries of Tourism Promotion Funds from inception and the amounts allocated during the various financial years is as follows. In 2019 to 2020, all the way to 2020 and 2021 financial years, we allocated 300 million for revitalization and refurbishing of Nairobi National Park rehabilitation and upgrading of roads in the Nairobi National Park by Kenya Wildlife Service. Number 2, development of new tourism vision strategy 2021 by Tourism Research Institute, costed 35 million. Number 3 was construction of Ronald Gala Utalii College by Tourism Fund, allocated at 1.5 billion. And number 4 was mitigation and restoration of Safo National Park by Kenya Wildlife Service, allocated at 30 million. In total, for the 2 financial years, we allocated 1.865 billion. In the financial year 2021-2022, we allocated 100 million for domestic tourism programs by Kenya Tourism Board. And number 2, we allocated establishment of tourism portal by State Department of Tourism at 25 million. Number 3, we allocated establishment of water funds, drilling of bores and dams, and provision of water in Safo by State Department of Wildlife at 199 million. Number 4 was the feasibility research on tourism crisis and resilient by Global Tourism Crisis and Resilience Center based at Kenyatta University at 9.2 million. And number 5 was development of wildlife research strategy 2021 by Wildlife Research and Training Institute, allocated at 36 million. And finally, in that financial year, it was the extension development of Ukunda Airstrip Runway and apron extension works in Diani, Kwale County by Kenya Airports Authority at 173 million. In total, the financial year 2021 and 2022, we spent 542 million. In the financial year 2022 and 2023, classification and grading of Class A and B enterprises, these are hotels, by Tourism Regulatory Authority, we allocated 48 million, which have seen 9 counties star rated. Number 2 was the ongoing construction of the Ronald Gala Utalii College, where we've allocated 500 million. The refurbishment and renovation of WRTI, which is Wildlife Research Training Institute Sanctuary and Conference Facilities by WRTI at 59 million. We also allocated 43 million for evaluation and impact assessment of climate change on tourism in the country and design of appropriate climate response sustainable practices with minimum standards by the Tourism Research Institute. We also allocated rehabilitation of KICC fountain, water fountain, and also Safo Convention, Safo All at 54 million. We also allocated refurbishment of KIC Safo Boardroom by Kenyatta International Convention Center at 245 million. And we also allocated equipment of the new international training kitchen at Utalii College that we will see the uptake of the students go up by 65% to a tune of 250 million. We also allocated Utamaduni Restaurant by Bomas of Kenya at 36 million. But I would want to report that this project will be reverted. The money will be reverted because that project has been stopped by a presidential directive on another building that is coming up. Digitization of cultural tourism products by Bomas of Kenya at 48 million. Construction of Kasala Gate is a national park by Kenya Wildlife at 41 million. Destination of PR and digital communication by Kenya Tourism Board at 100 million. Refurbishment of 10 guest houses and bandas at KWS parks by Kenya Wildlife at 20 million. Automation, signage and construction of laboratories, PDW compliant toilets at Fort Jesus Heritage Site by National Museums of Kenya at 50 million. Construction of 5 PWDs compliant toilets at the national parks by Kenya Wildlife Service at 15 million. Provision of 5 permanent water source in the Safo area, State Department at 100 million. restoration of renovation of Nairobi Safari Walk by Kenya Wildlife at 50 million, construction of perimeter wall around Wajir Museum, obelition block, education hall, and site interpretation center, as well as the exhibition development by the National Museum at 50 million, establishment of Eros Museum in Nyandarua County as a result of presidential directive at 50 million, establishment of Ushanga Mega Hall and its facilities in Narok County by the State Department of Culture at 41 million, establishment of the safety and security fences in Safo National Park at the border of Kitui, the one that I alluded to in the Honorable Mulungi's presentation at 50 million, establishment of safety and security fences in Aberdares National Park at the border of Raliak in Laikipia County by Kenya Wildlife Services at 50 million. The funding, the total funding for financial year 2022 and 2023 amounted to 2.009 billion. The grant total funding allocated in the project since inception is 4 billion and is 4.23 billion. And I have given a table that table 3 that is showing all these projects and more details. Honorable Mr. Speaker, sir, the Tourism Promotion Regulations 2019 Session 14 Sabbatical 1 provides the establishment of an oversight board to oversee the management and administration of the funds. The Tourism Promotion Fund Oversight Board is comprised of the Cabinet Secretary responsible for matters relating to tourism, who shall be the chairperson of the board, and in his or her absence, the Principal Secretary responsible for matters relating to tourism. We also have the Principal Secretary responsible for matters relating to tourism, the Principal Secretary responsible for matters relating to finance, the Principal Secretary responsible for matters related to culture and heritage, the Principal Secretary responsible for matters relating to wildlife, the Principal Secretary responsible for matters relating to internal security, the Principal Secretary responsible for matters relating to transport, and 2 persons of opposite gender appointed by the Cabinet Secretary responsible for matters relating to tourism in accordance to Article 27 of our Constitution. And finally, Honorable Speaker, the Chief Executive Officer as the Secretary to the Board. Honorable Speaker, the functions of the Oversight Board are to advise the Cabinet Secretary, and in this matter, Cabinet Secretary, National Treasury, on the funding requirements of the fund. And number 2, to review and adopt the estimates of the annual revenue and expenditure of the fund and recommend them to the Cabinet Secretary, for the time being responsible for the matters relating to tourism, for concurrence the allocation of the financial resources from the fund required by the tourism implementing agencies for the development, promotion, and branding to ensure that the annual estimates of revenue and expenditure for the fund include retention funds for the preceding financial year, which shall be reformed. Implementing agency annual programs are promoted for funding under this regulation, and to advise the Cabinet Secretary national the fund, and also to approve and review the investment of surplus funds from the fund. and also to advise the Cabinet Secretary, and for this matter, National Treasury, on any additional sources of the fund for the fund, and also to approve the financial statement prepared by the administrator of the fund before submission to Auditor General. And finally, Honorable Speaker, to approve the non-financial reports of the fund before submitting them to the Cabinet Secretary responsible for tourism onward transmission to the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Well, you are satisfied? We go to the next. Yes, Ferdinand Wanyonyi. Yes. Give him the mic.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank the CS. She has elaborated on the allocations of funds from the ministry, and I have not had anything, any allocation to Mount Elgon National Park, which is very, very important park, Mr. Speaker. I just want to draw her attention on the same, because it has been one of the best area and area of attraction for both tourism, local tourism, and foreign tourism, Mount Elgon. She has not said anything about it, and I think maybe by omission. But let me just tell her that it has been one of the biggest attraction.
Ask her a question.
So the question is, do you have any allocation to Mount Elgon National Park, which is actually been destroyed by the locals clearing the forest, what have you? And, you know, it's now being forgotten. Can I get an answer on that? If there's nothing, I'll make an effort even to come to the office or the same. Right? Can I know that, please?
Irene Mayaka. Take the next question, Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I would also just like to ask the Cabinet Secretary to please explain to us the criteria that she uses to select an area that becomes a beneficiary. Because, Honorable Speaker, for us who come from the Omogusi community, we have one site that was declared a protected site and a national monument in the year 2020, which is the Manga Hills, and which has 3 very outstanding sites, historical sites for the people of Omogusi. But this site, since it was declared a national monument and gazetted subsequently, it has never received any funding, not even to fence the site, so that the people of Gusii can begin to enjoy the benefits that come with having a historical site in their land. So I'd just like to know the criteria that is used, and if they can take into consideration having the only historical site in the land of Omogusi to be declared and to be assisted to have the same benefit. I thank you.
Mama Zamzam.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Mimi namuuliza waziri wa utalii, pale Mama Ngina Waterfront ni mahali ambapo wana Mombasa tumekuwa ni sehemu yetu ya kubarizi, ya kufanya mambo yetu ya culture, ya kukaribisha wageni. Kuna mwaka mliuchukua mkaweza kupengeza sehemu ile, ikawa mmeka ile bodi ya kusimamia, na ikawa kuwa ikimalizika muiregeshe kwa county government na hata ile Fort Jesus. Lakini mpaka leo Mheshimiwa Waziri, watu wetu wanatozwa pesa nyingi sana pale kwenda kukutana, kwenda kufanya zile program zetu kama utamaduni, na uliandikiwa na governor barua kuwa yapasa uiregeshe katika county government. Je, umepanga vipi kuhakikisha kuwa county ya Mombasa inaregeshiwa ile Fort Jesus, sehemu ya watoto wa kuchezea mpira na kila kitu, na huku Mama Ngina Waterfront? Asante sana Mheshimiwa Waziri.
Mama Roeda.
Ingine. Asante. Asante Bwana Spika. Tumeona TPF zile pesa zilivyoelekezwa hizi rasilimali kwa sehemu mbalimbali. Bwana Spika, nitakuwa na makosa nikisema Ministry of Tourism ndio imechangia pakubwa vita vya Al-Shabaab, inasaidia Al-Shabaab ili watupige Lamu na wapige Kenya nzima. Kwa sababu Bwana Spika, ukiangalia hizo pesa nyingi zimepelekwa, ukiangalia barabara za Lamu ambayo Lamu East, Lamu Mashariki, kuna Dodori National Reserve, kuna Kiunga National Marine, kuna na Boni National Reserve. Hiyo yote imechukua karibu Lamu Mashariki yote. Na barabara mwisho ilivyotengenezwa ya KWS ni 1979. Kwa hivyo mimi nitakuwa na makosa nikisema hii Ministry of Tourism inasaidia Al-Shabaab ili ndio tupate utovu wa salama waendelee Lamu.
Yes, Honorable Nyakundi. Yes, Nyakundi. Kitutu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you, the Cabinet Secretary, for the good presentation. But I wanted to ask, on the Tourism Promotion Fund, how is the board constituted? Secondly, I understand you're the chairman of the board and the PS is the secretary to the board. Who oversights the two of you? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, thank you, Speaker. Thank you, the CS. There is an area called B2, and I did not hear you mentioning the fencing of B2, or do you intend to deploy wardens to protect animal-human conflicts? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank the CS. In that spirit, I just want to ask about Kakamega Forest. What I didn't hear exactly how much, but more importantly, how do we ensure we fence it now? And secondly, Mr. Speaker, on the issue of promotion and tourism fund and facilities, can the CS just give us a few names of those counties that she said have benefited, those 3-star facilities that have been supported?
Thank you, Speaker.
Give the mic to Nicholas.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to know and to ask the CS on the plans our ministry has for the Turkana South Game Reserve, which it has become hideout of the bandits who are terrorizing travelers from along Kitale-Lodwar Highway, and also affecting the life of the people living along that road at the place centers like Kainuk, Kakongu, Kalemurok, Kaftir, and the other centers along that area in my constituency. That is Lukwamozin, Lopi, Nakuakal, Karuko, Katamanak, Lokozimekori, Nilimwai Kemer, Nakukulas. All those areas have been affected by the bandits who are hailing from this national game reserve. So, which plans the ministry has for this game reserve, for these bandits to be moved out so that these people will not continue losing life, and also people losing their livestock and people also becoming being displaced. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mama Kwale.
Basi asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika. Mimi nimuulize Mheshimiwa Waziri, nimesikia amesema kumetengwa pesa ya kukarabati uwanja wa ndege wa Ukunda, sehemu ambayo ina watalii wengi sana. Lakini nimuulize Mheshimiwa Waziri, unafahamu kuwa bado wananchi wale wanaotoka katika sehemu ile ambayo wamenyang'anywa uwanja ule bado hawajapata fidia yao,